Hello, friends. I'm very excited to introduce you to a piece of art that made a significant impact on me. My phenomenology or emotional response to the art is one of deep appreciation. My method of encounter with this piece of art is strange to say the least, but adds meaning to the art itself and my personal experience of it. The piece of art I chose is a Huichol yarn painting by Jesus Gonzalez Rivera. The first time I encountered this piece of art was after a spiritual journey in the living room of a man trained in Huichol shamanism. The Huicholi are a native population in the Sierra Madre Mountains of western central Mexico. The Nairica is a form of spiritual art used by the Huichol. Nairica means portal between this and the spirit world. The ritual art comes in many forms, like the yarn art shown here, as well as beaded gourds, animal figurines, embroidery, and ceramics. All artwork of the Huichol people is breathtaking. The creation of Huichol yarn art has long been a sacred undertaking for the tribal people. Today, many of these paintings are produced for the tourist industry rather than for religious purposes. Although the art has been commercialized, the subject matter has remained undifferentiated. The symbolic and spiritual significance of these designs has not been lost to the Huichol. Let's talk about the process used to create this art. The method used to create these three-dimensional pieces of art is an assemblage of plywood, beeswax, and yarn. Before starting on any piece of art, the artist takes time to become present, acknowledging the supernatural powers that help aid in the successful completion of the design. The next thing they do is check the weather. The art is made with beeswax. So if it is too cold, the yarn will not be able to be pressed into the wax. If it is too hot, the wax will melt, and one can imagine what goes wrong there. This means the art is usually done in the afternoon, when Tayupa, the solar deity, is not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Sometimes singing and dancing is involved, sometimes tequila, sometimes coffee, but always ceremony. When the ceremony is through, a thin layer of wax is spread evenly onto the plywood board with the fingertips, and a design is etched into the wax with a screwdriver. After this is done, the yarn can be pressed into the design. After the border and outline of the main figures are complete, the sky and foreground can be filled in, including details of sacred symbols. This all takes several hours to complete, with an enormous amount of skill and patience required. The yarn makes for a tactile texture that makes it both visually and physically stimulating. If I haven't sold you with the process alone, let me seduce you with the context of the art. As you see, the value of the yarn is high in intensity and saturation. The art is very symmetric and balanced, with a patterned geometric feel. This is all appealing to the buyer, but I argue the subject matter is of most value. The iconography reoccurs throughout the tribal work, with symbols of nature deities sacred to the Huichol. To name a few are the blue deer, Kaiiomari, the fire god, Tai, the peyote cactus, Ikuri, the shaman, or curandero, along with many others, including corn, birds, scorpions, and flowers, all joined together to form different subtexts and messages. Kaiiomari, as you see here, is the deer or messenger spirit seen throughout the artworks. The inspiration for Huichol art comes from shamanic visions, seen while on the hallucinogenic cactus, peyote. The deer is beloved to the Huichol as it leads the shaman to Huiracota, the sacred site where the peyote is found. The peyote leads the shaman to the vision, and the visions create the spiritual structure for the Huichol people. The artwork depicting these visions are spiritual offerings of the heart. They usually are left unsigned with no ego attached. Next, you will hear my dear friend tell you about how the peyote is collected in Huiracota.
The deer spirit, which takes one to the peyote world, and one has to fast, one has to physically exert themselves. Huiracota will take you over mountains and through the desert, and it will take you days to find peyote, but when you do, you have hunted it and you shoot it with ritual arrows, which are actually small darts with macaw feathers attached to the end. And you don't actually shoot the peyote itself, but you stab the darts into the ground next to the peyote, and then you have killed the peyote deer. When you eat peyote, you see Huiracota. It's one of the visions that everyone shares. There are commonalities in all the peyote visions. People see the same places, they experience the same path, they experience the same hardships, the clashing rocks. They experience the same...
What's the clashing rocks?
Rocks which move together and smash together, and they experience the same electric wonderland skies, the hallucinogenic day-glow colors of the skies, and you don't know upon your return whether you walked there or flew there, and it could be both at the same time.
The composition and brilliance of Huichol yarn art reminds me of the mandala of Samvara, which is also a spiritual piece of art with symbolic animals and deities. The painting depicts the relationship of all things that exist in the cosmos. Another piece of art that reminded me of Huichol art was the Aboriginal art by Patty Carroll. The symbols portrayed here represent the origin of life and reason for existence, which is congruent to the context of Huichol art. The otherworldliness of Huichol art is a lot like other tribal cultures around the world. Take, for instance, the brilliant visionary style of this textile from the Peruvian Shipibo tribe. The Shipibo use the serpent in their art just like the Huichol, and for many around the world. Their art is also ceremonially done and reflective of visions seen while on the psychedelic ayahuasca. The Hmong people of southern China have textiles that depict similar animal deities and enjoy using the same brilliant colors and symmetry as the Shipibo and Huichol. The Hmong have a long history of shamanism, with brilliant designs depicting visions of altered states. The Hmong, Shipibo, and Huichol are not the only ones steeped in shamanism and seeking the mystical experience. The Sami of northern Scandinavia produce vibrant, geometric textiles as well. These colorful, symbolic tribal art pieces found across the globe seem to have one common thread: shamanism and the mystical experience. With the demand for these radiant pieces increasing and commercialization of the art, I can only hope the integrity is not lost and the symbolism stays intact. Like the Huichol, the Sami hold sacred the deer who leads them to their visionary sacrament. the mushroom Amanitas muscaria. The psychoactive mushroom induces intense visions, such as seeing flying reindeer. Merry Christmas, all, and have a wonderful vacation.